2023 is coming to a close. And so that means I am here to give you a recap of what 2023 meant to us as the Merry Merry Meeples YouTube channel and me personally. After all that, we'll get into my top 7 solo and my top 7 two-player, as that's what we play, 2 players. Alright, so us as a channel. Well, we first started the channel in 2021 in September. We did September, October, and a little bit of November. Then the holidays hit. I was in retail at the time, so I wasn't able to really keep up with it. The bride had to take some time off of it, so we kind of let the rest of November, December, and most of January kind of slip by. However, 2022 because we're in 2023. September 2022 is when we did all that. So February of this year, I decided I was going to hunker down and we were going to focus on it. So we basically have done a lot of videos for the channel and hit it hard since February of this year. And a lot of things have happened in that year. First off, I took on a couple of different campaigns to go throughout the year that you can see on the channel. Most of them are in their own little tabs. One, so Imperial Settlers Roll and Write from Portal Games. I played the physical version solo, and then I am currently working my way through all of the maps that are available in the mobile version. I'm up to, I think I just did 12, and there's like 5 left as of now, so you can find those. 2, again digitally, I decided to play through a campaign of Charterstone. Charterstone is a legacy game from Stonemaier Games that plays over 12 games. You can see each one of those mobily played on our channel as well. Again, it's a legacy game, so there are spoilers in it. Third, Rose Gauntlet has a game called Keystone North America where you're building your little ecosystem, and they had an assignment journal that had 20 assignments in it. Well, I played through all 20 of those, again, on the channel that you can find. So that was a big undertaking I took through most of the year, and those all have their own little ones. The other thing I did was my top, I made a top 13 of all time. I looked at those top 13, saw which one of these have a solo version, and I then played through those throughout the year. And actually, if it had a digital version, I played through the digital version as well. Those are not collected, those are just scattered all across the channel that you can try and find if you are so inclined. Other than that, big thing that has changed for me this year is I have taken on more solo playing. The bride has been busy with other things, and especially with her being her job, she is busy during the school year, so come like July, I'm basically on my own a lot, so I have taken up more solo gaming, hence the top 7 solo games of the year that I have played. So again, that was huge this year. You'll see I've done a ton of solo gaming this year. That has been quite different for me because to me, gaming's always been that like the family gets together or me and her, that's our couple time, is playing games, so it's that social experience. But now I'm doing it solo, so now it's become more puzzly and more of a relaxation activity and something else that I'll get into here in a moment. Went to Origins for the first time this year, and that was also the first one as a content creator. That did not go quite as well as I had hoped, again, for the thing I'm about to get to that happened this year. Outside of that, the last couple of things that have happened, like in the last couple of months for the channel, with us really going headlong and focusing on it, is we have started a Patreon account that we are hoping to kick more stuff into and do a lot more with that in 2024. You can find a link to that in the description down below. And I've also started a podcast. Hopefully going to start getting the bride on there and then releasing maybe more of those. But for now, it's on every 2 weeks. It's called Musings of the Mick, for I am a McCarthy and I am a Mick. So that is dropping every 2 weeks, and you can find that wherever you find podcasts, and you may hear more about that later, as they are the sponsor of this video. By sponsor, I mean I want to write a commercial about it, and you get to watch it. Alright, so that thing I kind of pushed aside. So this year, I have noticed I have had a lot of mental health issues where I barely leave the house anymore. This is something that is personal to me. My mother did suffer from this as well and eventually started getting over it. But it is something that has started to rear its head with me. So when I went to Origins, I got really overwhelmed and had to leave early because I just couldn't handle it. So that comes to the solo gaming. What is nice with the solo gaming is that it does help provide me that release and is kind of a mental distraction. So that is something I have discovered this year, is that by playing the solo games, it does kind of help me unwind and ease my mind throughout the day as I am here in the house by myself most of the time. So instead of just sitting around, just realizing I'm not going anywhere and I really should be going here and I can't, I'm able to just pop open that game and really just delve into it and create that nice mind distractor for me. So that was a big revelation that I came through this year and that I'm hoping to work on next year and be able to start getting back out more and maybe hit some more of these conventions and start interacting with society more. But on that bummer note, we are going to get into those solo games that have helped me get through this year. And then hopefully you can see something that you will enjoy that can help you if you are dealing with stuff and need to delve into a solo game and just focus on something by yourself. Alright, so here I am about to list off my top 7 solo games of the year. A couple of things I want to let you know about with me and solo games. First off, my preferred solo games are ones that mimic that two-player experience that the bride and I would normally have and aren't overly punishing. So if it's pretty close to the two-player version, then it's going to kind of nudge it one way or the other. Also, I don't mind the beat your own score as the end goal because, as I said, I prefer the two-player, and typically you're trying to beat your opponent's score, so I like to just try and play and get the highest score possible. Third, I also prefer an AI or automa that needs the least amount of work from me and doesn't require much decisions on my part. To kind of ruin my list, like Leaf from this year is not on this list. While the solo play is cool, you're putting out the leaves and then you have to try and judge where the most tips are, and there's just a process there. I'd prefer to just flip this over, put this out, flip this over, put this out, or even not even flip it over. So there's that one. And my fourth one I'm going to say is I also factor if the bride may not like the game, and so there's a solo option, so that means that it can get to the table more often because then I can play by myself. Then that will also nudge it higher, especially if I like the solo version. All right, so that is a lot of the criteria that I put on this. Also, you will notice I have played the majority of these solo on the channel. You can find videos to those on our channel, and I'll put the links up there. You'll see the little cards come up for each game, and you can just click there if you want to view those solo play videos. Also, I'm pretty sure there's unboxings for almost all these as well, but I will not link those. I'll just link the solo plays. Long preamble done. We are going to get into our list with my number 7. So number 7, you can't necessarily tell here, there you go, it's upside down and backwards, is Celte. This is a game from Pythagoras. It's got a rondel system where you're going to be moving the pawn around and taking one of 2 actions that it's next to. And not only one of 2 actions, but based on where that pawn is, either the northern or southern hemisphere. And they have their own stuff on there. It's a really cool game where you're collecting all these things, these workers on here to try and do the actions better. And then you can eventually recruit them and put them in your tribe, so they're now over here in your active workers to make those actions even more powerful. The bride is meh on this one, so with having a solo version, I can get to the table more often. And B, the solo version is pretty easy. It's like flip over one of the cards. If it matches a symbol, then it does this. Otherwise, it does this. Then you flip over another card, and that dictates the next thing it does. Super simple, super quick, and then you move on to your turn. So that is the solo. So again, what I like about the game in general is collecting all the workers. Is really cool. And then how you can power up your actions. To me, I don't know if it was just because of the artist is the same one as like the West Kingdom and all those. This felt like this could have been in that line of games. This could have just fallen right into there. We are doing these actions to get better, kind of like how architects, you put out workers to get better. This one is you can swap your workers and you can recruit them so you can do the actions better. So again, my number 7 is Celte from Pythagoras. All right, moving on to number 6. This is one that I do not have a playthrough on the channel of because this does have a story campaign mode, and that is Ela and Something Shiny. So now if you go to Board Game Geek, this technically says 2021 as a release date. However, North Star Game Studios did just release it over here in the United States in 2023 because I pre-ordered it from them. So I'm counting it as a 2023. In this game, you are Ela, and you're going to be going through different chapters. And all these different chapters have different ways where the chapter will end. But the main mechanism is still the same. You're going to be flipping over these cards, getting resources, and then doing stuff with those resources. Either turning your food into energy so you can get through the day, or maybe your end goal might be have so many of these items, so you have to turn these resources into those items to store at the end of the day. So far, I think I'm about halfway through, and I've really enjoyed it. The story moves along nice. The artwork is super cute. I really like that resource management. I'll show you the back of the box because I shouldn't spoil anything. It's the back of the box. So you'll see you have these cards. They tell you what to do. There's your main board. And then some of the cards you have to make a decision because some of them is you can trigger this effect and get something small, and then you'll be able to reuse that card because it'll go into the future to be used again. Or you can do something really cool and get an item which will help you more as you progress. However, that'll then go to the past and you won't have access to that card anymore or that story. So that's a really cool mechanism. I just really like the resource management, gathering them. There's a touch of memory because you have to remember, all right, well, I know this card's going to need 2 carrots to turn in for this, and then I'll be able to turn that in for this. So almost like an engine building mechanic too, of turning this into this to turn this into this to get what I need. So that is Ela and Something Shiny, a story-driven adventure game. So this one I'll have actually linked the what's in the box up above. All right, so number 5 is a relatively newer addition to our library, and that is Raising Robots by Navu Games. In this game, you are going to be assigning a phase of, or an action, kind of. There you'll see the action board. You're going to assign one of those to an energy card that you have up. You have 2 energy cards. You're going to put out 2 of those phase cards. You are going to be then carrying out those phases in order. And then if there's robots in a row that you've constructed, you'll go across and then go down to the next one. Think kind of like Wingspan of going across, except Wingspan you go back. So it's like reverse Wingspan. Alright, so why do I like this solo? Well, main reason is it plays 95% the same as 2-player and a little bit more different than 3-player, but basically like 2-player. Because this basically simulates 2 other players when you play solo. You're going to have yours, and then next to the main board you have 5 phase cards dealt out. You have an energy cube on one, 2 on the next one, and then 2. Then after you reveal your phase, you flip those over and put those energy cubes out. So almost as if 3 people are choosing stuff. In a 2-player, you only do 1 card. So it's basically like a 2-player except 1 additional card putting out energy. On the game itself, I really enjoy trying to choose what robots am I going to put out. And again, like I said, with Ela, with the engine building, the one game we played, I was able to put, all right, so my first card in this run is going to just let me draw a card. And then the next card is going to let me be able to discard a card to get 2 batteries and 2 points or something like that. So you're able to hopefully build up this engine of, all right, I'm going to get this, and then from here I'm going to move to this, and then this, and then this, and then you just keep going down the row. It's really cool just to be able to get the robots. The robots are all cool names, awesome artwork, fantastic stuff like that. The components themselves, you have this cool board, and everything runs around. They have a wide range of inventors, ranging from something that's easy all the way up to hard, where you're changing your different actions. Like this person might be able to upgrade for less. Whereas this person just lets you build another robot for free at the beginning of the game. And then when you upgrade them, you build another robot for free. One can make you have where you make another resource, basically like duct tape, where it can be spent as anything. So it's really nice that they have that wide variety of inventors. And we haven't even played with it yet, but we also got the pets expansion, which adds a whole nother dynamic, because with the pets, it's based on where you put them, because when they activate, they're going to possibly look at stuff that's orthogonally adjacent, and that might help them, or they might trigger more stuff. It's just a lot of cool game that just you can keep ramping up the difficulty if you want. And like I said, the solo version played super quick and easy, and they even have it where if you want to play 3 consecutive games to get a bigger high score, you can. You basically play one game, set everything aside, reset up, play another game, set everything aside, and then set up, and then go. And then you total up your scores for all 3 games, and then check the table. All right, but that was Raising Robots from Navu Game, my number 5. All right, my number 4 is another solo-only kind of campaign-y driven game, Legacy of You. This is from Garphill Games' Ancient Anthology line, I believe they call it. This is solo-only. There's not a playthrough of this, but there is an unboxing, which I will link to up above. So 1 player. In this one, kind of like Ela, you're almost mitigating your resources. You're collecting resources, and you're going to use those to either build these little huts, or construct the, I think it was the bridge, or hire more workers and villagers to come in, which you kind of need, because you have the barbarians invading, so you need to try and have more workers, because you might have to start getting rid of the cards, and the cards are multi-use, because you can just play them for one part of the resource. You can discard them up to the villager discard to get even more resources, or eventually you can tuck them under the board to get more stuff with either actions or for production at the beginning of the turn and what have you. As I said, it's kind of campaign driven. It's not really a legacy. Basically, when you win or lose, you flip over a card. It tells you a story thing, and that may or may not add stuff to the game. And then you just go through with that. I think it's like 5 or 6 games, and then it's easily resettable and play again, because you may trigger something else. You may win more than you lose. You may lose more than you win. So it's almost like a much replayability for a campaign game, which you don't always get. Plus, I mean, the production is awesome. The insert is great because it tells you exactly where everything goes, and as you unlock it, it goes there. As this unlocks, it goes there. And the rulebook, while it looks large and complicated, once you get the flow of the game going, it plays just super smooth and quick. It's just grab your stuff, do as much as you can. All right, now the barbarians are coming. The flood's going to move. Did you construct the stuff you needed to? Yep, cool. All right, keep going. Or, oh, you lost. Sometimes you can lose quick. Well, if you lose quick, you unlock something, just set up and play again, because the setup isn't that bad. So again, my number 4, Legacy of You. All right, my number 3, Draft and Write Records from Inside Up Games. This is, as you can tell, you draft cards and then you write on your band sheet. So this is one that I actually have no problem getting to the table with the bride, because she really likes this one. I like the solo play because it plays quicker than a 2-player, in all honesty. So in the multiplayer, you have hands of cards you're passing back and forth in drafting. In the solo, you draw 2 cards, you choose one of them, you fill that in on your band sheet. Or you draw 2 cards, and then you can draw a 3rd card. You choose one of those based on certain criteria. If 2 of the cards match, you have to grab the 3rd. If they are all different, then you can grab whatever card you want. But in so doing that, you can then go to the end of day, which is you're scoring these gold cards to hopefully get more points. So it's that cool dynamic of, all right, I'm going to draw 2, look at the goals, maybe get it to where I can complete a couple of them, and now I'll draw the 3. Or I drew 2 and, oh, shoot, none of this actually works for me, so I'm going to be forced to draw that 3rd and hope that I get something I need. That was pretty cool. I think one of my only little bit of drawbacks on this is you basically play until the deck is through. I would kind of prefer that you could just play until either you fill up your band sheet, you take the scandals, maybe some of the other normal stuff. So that would be my only concern with this. But outside that, I absolutely adore it. It plays quick. and there is tons of combos to be had on that sheet. Like, there are times where you'll take 5 or 6 actions in a row off of one. Because the one section you fill in something on each end of the row. So, all right, so each end of the row. So I'm going to do this, and this might trigger the here, the here, the here, the here. And then you're going to do the other side, which will trigger 3 more things. So then you just take this huge action. That is why I prefer the solo, because when that happens with the other person, then it's not as cool, because you're just sitting there like, all right, your turn's still going. All right, I'll just sit here and wait. But in a solo, you're doing it, so it just goes super quick. So that is why I like this one a solo. Alright, my number 2 is from Portal Games, a new installation into the Imperial Settlers world, Imperial Miners. So in this game, you are going to be expand your mind, build machines, overcome collapses. So you are going to be building this tableau in front of you, line up these cards, and when you play them, then you start with that card and you trigger going up. This plays, if I remember correctly, exactly like the multiplayer one. You're just going and trying to beat your score. So like, that is ideal, because I really like the game. The way that it, again, as you've noticed with me, a lot of it is engine building that I enjoy, and this is pure engine building. I'm going to put that up there because it keeps opening. Pure engine building goodness, because you're going to put this card down here. When you trigger this, it's going to give you stuff. And then when you go up, you get more stuff, and then more stuff, and then more stuff, and you can turn that in to go up this track to get even more points. So that is just a really cool mechanic of you're building out your levels, but then you also have to try and figure out, well, this needs at least one above it. So you can kind of pyramid out, but then you have to try and build over to try and get more stuff. Plus, it's from Portal, and I really like the Imperial Settlers universe, especially Empires of the North. So just kind of having that familiarity in it. And then the cool thing about this is, instead of having, like, you only have one clan deck, all the clan decks are shuffled together, and then just everyone can get it, so you can still try and go with that clan strategy. But you, A, aren't necessarily going to get it, but B, then multiple people can go for it. So instead of one person being a race and being like, or a clan, you'd be like, ooh, I really liked it, I wish I would have done that. You can see and be like, oh, I am able to do that. We're both able to do, the Japanese strategy or the Atlantean strategy and stuff like that. So I haven't heard of any expansions yet, but I'm really hoping they're going to be coming out with more to that and expanding that game, because it is super quick, especially compared to the other ones, which go a lot longer. This says 30 to 60 minutes. I don't think we've ever had a game go more than 30, because it just plays that quick. All right, number 1 solo version game of mine, Terraforming Mars, the dice game. So in this one, it's similar to Terraforming Mars. You're going to be playing cards. You are going to be terraforming the planet of Mars, trying to hit the certain parameters. Except in this one, you have dice that you'll be rolling and then using as the resources to put out those cards, to trigger effects, to hit the terraforming parameters. So I like Terraforming Mars, and I love dice, so putting them together seemed like a natural match made in heaven, and it was for me. So why do I like this one solo? Well, I have played all 3 of the Terraforming Mars games, the base game, the card game, which is Ares Expedition, and this one. This one seems the most easily beatable. I can knock it out. It's quick. Like I said, I can actually beat it, which is nice. The base game just really feels punishing and hard to do. This one seems easier in that regard. So that is why it is my number 1 game, because it's a Terraforming Mars game that I can beat, and it's got dice. So those are my solo games that I liked from this year. Again, with those stipulations I said of trying to mimic that 2-player experience, not overly punishing, the AI doesn't really get too much involved, and that it is possibly a game that the bride doesn't like. That really only came into play really for Celte. I will include at the end of this video my top 20. Yeah, we'll go top 20 solo games that I've played. All right, but now we are going to get a word from our sponsors, and then we are going to get into our 2-player top 7. Oh, hey, look at that. That there is our podcast. Well, specifically my podcast as of now, and I find it quite amusing. Yeah. Musings of the Mick is a every 2-week podcast that I myself do, and we aim to keep it under 30 minutes. We have taken inspiration from Board Game Blitz. If you have not listened to that podcast, they do the same thing, where they try and give you as much board game content and other stuff as they can in 30 minutes or less. I really enjoy that format of theirs because we don't always have a ton of time to listen to these long, lengthy podcasts. So I'm trying to keep it short, tight, and pithy for you. What do we cover on that? Well, we cover recent gameplays. We cover crowdfunding that we're looking at. We cover a topic of the week. There's a couple of commercials. A little better than this one. Debatable, though. Also, this very next episode that we are doing, which came out this week that you're watching this video, if you watched this when it released, we covered other games from 2023 that we liked that did not make the top 7. So if you are interested in other games of that, listen to the previous one. The one before that, we covered solo games. Some of them we covered today, some of them we didn't. You'll have to listen to see what the ones are that are different. All right, but go ahead and take a listen. We would appreciate it. You can find it wherever podcasts are found. We have spread ourselves all over. In fact, you can even listen to it right here on the YouTube. All right, let's get into those top 7 of 2023 now. All right, so now we're going to get into the top 7 that I played 2-player, and you will notice there's a ton of crossover between this and the solo list. Obviously, because I like the ones that mimic the 2-player experience, there's a good likelihood that they're going to cross-pollinate. There is one new one in here. Well, 2, technically, because there's 2 solo-only games in the solo list. And I will say, when those do come up, the reason why they did not make the solo top 7 and they're on this top 7 is I'm not as big of a fan of their solo versions, and I'll explain that when I get to them. With that being said, let's start with number 7. Number 7 is the one we just talked about, Draft and Write Records. So again, why do I like this 2-player game? Well, because it's very similar to the solo game. Obviously, I like it more solo because of the quicker play, but this still has all of the same combos in a 2-player game. You get to see the cards, so you're not forced to decide, do I have to get rid of, or do I have to draw 3 this time? No, because you have the hand of cards, so it actually makes planning a bit easier because you can see the cards that may be coming back to you. So again, Draft and Write Records from Inside Up Games, I would definitely say is a hit for us. Number 6. So even though the bride doesn't like it, we do still get to play it on occasion. So that is Celte. As I said, the solo bot does mimic a 2-player, kind of, in that you can't necessarily think, all right, well, I think I know what they're going to do. Like, it's all random if they move the 1, 2, or 3 spaces. In this one, having an opponent, you can kind of judge their strategy, where they're going to go, where they're going to go for, so you can kind of work your movement around there. Also, it adds a nicer ability to kind of go against someone for the huts that will score points at the end, or someone else putting the stuff out to kind of help you move stuff forward. The computer or the AI bot kind of does that more randomly, whereas a opponent has that strategy going forward. So I do kind of prefer it a little bit more 2-player than solo because of that fact that you don't have this random AI bot, but the fact that I can play it solo is still really cool. But yes, as I said, I really enjoy this game. Number 5 is a repeat again. I'm pretty sure it was number 5 last time, and that is Raising Robots. So I've already gone into how cool this is with the engine building and how in a 2-player game, you just basically add 1 AI card as opposed to the 2. So it's very comparable that way. And the other player doesn't really get in your way much. There is no direct interaction in this game. The reason I do kind of like it in a 2-player, not even slightly more, it is literally number 5 on both lists, is because, again, knowing the strategy. In a solo game, it's all randomized how it's going to do it. Like it's going to, you just shuffle up the cards and put them out random. In a two-player, you can go look like, all right, they have a ton of resources, so more than likely they're about to assemble. Well, I have this card that's going to give me extra energy if they put energy cubes there, and they have this card that has 2 energy cubes. So they're probably going to assemble, so I can put this lower one on assemble and put my higher one at a different phase. So it adds that extra little bit of strategy to it that you can plan on what the other person's doing, which is why I do enjoy it two-player. Like I said, I just enjoy the game with the engine building and the working your way around the board and across and triggering all these different effects and trying to choose what robot to upgrade, because then those actions become better. All right, so my number 4 is the newer game, Nova Roma. So I have actually played this on the channel solo, so I will include that up above. But I had to enjoy this game regardless. So how does Nova Roma play? Well, you are going to have this little grid of actions in the middle of the board. You're going to put out your patrician, and then they intersect, and you do both of those actions. If the Emperor is there, he helps improve them. If you have other patricians there, it helps improve them. There are tons of different actions you can take. There's sailing, there's building, there's the hippodrome, there's recruiting people, there's working on your estate, all of that. So that is one of the main reasons I enjoy it, is the whole fact that you have all these different actions, and you can really focus on one for a turn, because you can put one worker there and do it as small, and then you put another worker, and now you're doing even larger, and then another worker. Now it's just this huge action you're going to be able to do. So kind of that ramping up, almost kind of like I had said earlier with Architects of the West Kingdom and Celtic, kind of feeling like that. This one does too, where like Architects, you put out one worker, it's small. Put on another, it builds up. Same thing with this, is you just keep building up the more people you put in that row. In a two-player, you put each person, after they put out one other worker, puts out these legionnaires to block off a space. The bride and I don't like being mean to each other in our plays, so we end up putting them out anywhere and just saying, if they're in your way, just kind of shove them off to the side, because we both want to enjoy our play. We don't want to have someone really screw us over with a legionnaire placement. Which brings me to my point of why I do not like this as much solo. It's because those legionnaires are put out randomly. You flip over a tile and they go to these spots, so there's no rhyme or reason to it. Also, in the rules, it's like you're the first player, but the first thing that happens is 2 legionnaires get put out, so you never have that whole grid to work with. There's always going to be 2 blockers to start your turn. So that's why I'm not as big of a fan. Also, the scoring's a little bit different than in a multiplayer, so it doesn't really mimic as well that 2-player experience. So that's why I didn't make my solo one, but it is here because I do really enjoy the whole puzzling aspect of, I'm going to put this guy here, and they're going to intersect here to make this more powerful. All right, so my number 3 on this list was my number 1 solo game, which is Terraforming Mars, the dice game. So the bride likes Terraforming Mars. She likes Terraforming Mars, the card game, because she likes cards. I like dice, so I like this. So obviously she's going to like the other ones probably a little bit better than this. I've never actually asked her. Doesn't matter to me, though, because this is my list. And I like playing this one in 2-player because at 2-player, this plays fast still. We play the base game, you're looking at a 3-hour play. We're playing the card game, you're looking at 2.5 to 3-hour play. We play this game, we're done within 90 minutes the longest. We're probably done within an hour. And you still kind of feel like you played Terraforming Mars. So that is one of the things I really do like about this, is that we are able to get that Terraforming Mars feel in that shorter play time, because like I said, to play the other ones, we know it's going to be an ordeal, because there is so much more decision making and moving this around and doing this. Like the card game, you got to choose what phase you want to do and then go down all the phases. This one, it's literally like take your action, next person, take your action, next person. And you're not having as many cards and as much stuff to maneuver around and put on the map and do this. So Terraforming Mars, the dice game, really sped up our 2-player plays, and that is why it is my number 3. Number 2, Imperial Miners from Portal Games. So again, the solo player is just like the 2-player. So I like it just as much in the 2-player because it plays the same. There is no necessarily interaction between players, so you can just go and build your mine and go. and it plays quick. If I remember right, it's basically almost like simultaneous play. It's been a while since we've actually played this one, unfortunately. Each round, cards are played and activated simultaneously. So yeah, so it's a simultaneous play, so there really is hardly any downtime either. That's what I remembered liking. You know, we're going to get this to the table here soon. I really want to play this again. Alright, yes, so Imperial Miners from Portal Games is my number 2. Alright, here we are, my number 1 2-player game. There actually is a multitude of coverage that we did on this. We did What's in the Box, we did a playthrough, we did a solo play. So I'll put the playthrough up there, and I might put the other stuff in the description down below. So I guess with all that content, it's no surprise it's my number 1. And that is another game from Inside Up Games. So they did Draft and Write, and they did Earth. Earth is this massive tableau builder. You're going to be building your grid of 4x4 cards. And you are basically, again, trying to do engine building. You are going to be, you have a card of hands, and you can draw cards, but you're going to be choosing an action on your turn, doing your part, and then the other person is going to be doing an action, a part of that action, a lesser one. So there is that kind of simultaneous play, because as one person's doing their thing, the other person does their thing, so it kind of mitigates that downtime. And when you do these actions, you trigger cards that have those colors of action. So if you can go big with, like, say, the red colored strategy, cool, I do the red power, now I'm going to activate all these cards. And then if you have them built in the grid the right way, this one's going to give you soil, and this one you're going to turn soil in for growth, and then down here you can discard one of those growth to compost 3 cards, and then I'm going to spend 3 composting cards to put out growth cubes. So you can really get those synergies going through here. There's a bunch of different ways to score options too, like this one might be looking for stuff in the rows and columns, so I need to make sure I do that. Or this wants mushrooms around, let's get those. You can't ignore getting your big tall trees, which are really cool components in and of themselves, because those are going to give you points, especially if you top it off with the cap. So a lot going on in this game, and that's what we enjoy, the engine building aspect. The art is really cool. All the different powers, being able to trigger stuff, just kind of working your way through your board. And then I like that they could have gone insane and said, you know, activate however you want and put cubes on the ones that you activate so you remember you did. Nope. They kept it simple. Left to right, top to bottom. Just go across. So that way you're not having to sit there and someone's trying to be like, all right, well, I've triggered this. Now I'll move down here, do this and this and this. So that just design right there of just going straight in a row always makes it good for me. That's kind of like with Raising Robots 2. Straight line, so that way you don't have someone shut down with the AP of all, this one's going to be better here than there than there. Just straightforward. Go, go, go. Alright, but again, that was my number 1, Earth. So that was 14 games, but not really. It was like, what, 9, 11 games that I covered because of all the cross-pollination between the 2 lists. Alright, I hope you enjoyed. Again, after this, I will have the top 20 for solo and the top 20 for multi or for 2-player. Scroll up on your screen so you can see what my top 20s were. If I could go ahead and get you to like, subscribe, comment, share, ring the bell for the channel, I would appreciate that as well. Alright, until next time, I am the Groom, wishing you a Happy New Year.